Hey, everybody. This is Sharika Matthews, your life coach, relationship expert, and creator of Feminine Success Mastery. Thank you so much for joining me here again tonight for another conversation that I hope will provide some inspiration, information, so that you can experience some sort of transformation in your life and in your relationships. For those of you who are new to me and not really familiar with who I am or what I do, my name is Sharika Matthews, and I work with high achieving women to help them achieve success in their lives. But over the last 5 years of work with women, I have realized that usually there is something, some one thing that's keeping them from feeling successful in their life. And that one thing is their relationship. So I work with these women to help them figure out if they're in the right relationship or not and help them attain what they truly desire in their relationships. And this is why I am talking today on the topic of self deception. Self deception is not a common term in our vocabulary, right? We don't just talk to our girlfriends about self deception. We don't talk to our pastor or our therapist about self deception. But self deception is something that affects us, and we don't even really know it. And self deception is a little bit more than just lying to yourself. So, and of course, with everything that I do, I like to look up words and look up terms to get the official definition of it. So, when I look up self deception is stated as the inability to be honest with yourself. And the problem with that is that whenever you cannot be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anyone else. This is why when we show up and we show up in our relationships or on our jobs or and even in volunteer opportunity, it becomes hard and exhausting to continue this deception or this facade that we put up. But I want to read you the other definition of self-deception. Self-deception, this is the definition that most psychologists use. Self-deception is a motivated false belief that persists in spite of conflicting information. I want to read that again. Self deception is a motivated false belief that persists in spite of conflicting information. You are some kind of way motivated to have this false belief, motivated to continue in your own reality because in some shape, form, or fashion, it benefits you. And this self-deception, this false belief can vary in scales of severity, right? So for example, most of you guys know I was married about 10 years ago. And I later found out after I got married, while I was in the relationship, that this person was a habitual liar. He had created this false reality for himself. He sold me on the reality that he created for himself, which in turn created conflict within us, which led to our divorce. And the funny part about the whole situation is that the false reality that he created for himself, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter. The reality was that he had to take out student loans to go to college and not scholarships. The reality of the situation is that he did have an affair with a married woman and had a baby versus the married woman he actually knew that the woman was married. So it's little adjustments to the truth in a way that now you have an alternate reality, but that alternate reality benefits you. And that's an extreme case of self-deception. But when it comes to us as individuals, we sometimes have these small self-deceptions that leads to self-sabotage. I want you to be very clear on this. Self-deception leads to self-sabotage. And I want to give you this definition of self-sabotage as well. I want you to write this down. Self-sabotage is when we actively or passively take steps to prevent ourselves from reaching a goal. Actively or passively. So actively preventing ourselves may include something like procrastination, right? I am actively going to avoid washing the dishes. I'm going to go sweep the floors because I don't want to wash the dishes. That's active. But a passively self-sabotaging yourself will include this alternate reality, this self-deception of who we are and self-deception of what our world is like in order to make it more comfortable for ourselves. And in turn, that keeps us actually from attaining that goal. Using the example of my prior marriage, that prevented him actually for having the end goal of staying in a loving marriage, having a long marriage, and staying married to me. And and in his mind, it probably was not intentional. He probably did not set out to lie to me or hurt me or create this alternate reality, but that alternate reality was his truth, regardless of what paper said, regardless of what the evidence said. So, I want to talk to you tonight about 5 signs that you may be having some self deception and how it's affecting your life. The first sign of self deception, and I'm sure almost everybody can relate to this, is that you stick your head in the sand to avoid something painful or uncomfortable. You stick your head in the sand to avoid something painful or uncomfortable. If you can relate to this, I want you to put a Y in the comments. When you try to avoid something, what you're essentially deceiving yourself to believe is that the thing I am avoiding is unimportant. The thing that I am avoiding, it will go away or it'll disappear on its own, or it will resolve itself on its own. And we see this a lot in relationships. Hey, Agnes, thank you for joining. We see this a lot in relationships where we sometimes avoid difficult conversations. We avoid talking about money, or we avoid talking about sex, or we avoid talking about the way you hurt my feelings this morning when you didn't kiss me goodbye when you left the house. We avoid talking about this thing and we convince ourselves that everything is okay. We convince ourselves that everything is all right. We convince ourselves that it doesn't matter. In that moment, you are deceiving yourself. You are not being honest with yourself. And then you will end up self-sabotaging yourself in that relationship. Hey, Mary, thank you for joining. So, yes, sticking your head in the sand to avoid something is a way that you deceive yourself. But the truth of the matter is, when you ignore something, it will not go away. If you don't address something, it will grow bigger and bigger and bigger until one day it may actually explode. That is the truth that you're trying to avoid when you stick your head in the sand. So that's number one. Sign number two is that you expect the worst out of everything and everyone. You just have this position, this belief that, if my car doesn't start, that means my car is just going to be trashed. You have a what I want to say, a World War III type of mentality. You're expecting a war to happen when it's just a bump in the road. And the deception here is that there is only one outcome, and it's a negative outcome. Does anyone relate to this, that sometimes you expect the worst to happen out of a situation or out of a person or out of a relationship? You may, in relational terms, you may meet someone who is just fine looking, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. And you immediately assume that that man is a player. You immediately assume that he's going to waste his time because all pretty boys, that's what they do. That is that is something that is a self-deception. You have sold yourself on a storyline that benefits you, and in this case you're trying to protect yourself and protect your heart. So the truth is that not every pretty boy is going to waste your time. Not every good-looking man is going to waste your time. The truth of the matter is that just because your car didn't start today doesn't mean it's going to cost you $20,000 to fix it. Are you always going to a catastrophic ending as soon as something doesn't go your way? That is a self-deception. And one of the ways you want to get over this self-deception is to see options. Instead of saying, oh, if one bad thing happens, this big explosion of bad things is going to happen. Instead, say, yes, my car didn't start, or this one bad thing happened, but these are the other options of what could happen after that. Yes, it could be a $20,000 uh, mechanic bill, or it could be I just need a new battery, or it could be, I just need to change a wire, or it could just be, $100 bill. There are several different options. So you want to move yourself away from expecting the worst of things, but instead analyze the different options. That way you don't self-sabotage yourself, because when you give yourself these catastrophic expectations that something bad is going to happen, it'll keep you in a state of fear. It'll keep you stuck. It won't allow you to move forward. So that's why you want to identify this sign and then see the options so that you can actually make the next best decision. So that is sign number 2. You expect the worst out of everything or everyone. Sign number 3, this may surprise you, is disorganization. Disorganization. That means one or more areas in your life is in chaos. That could be your room, that could be your bank account or your finances, that could be your relationships, that could be your closet, that could be your desk. If you have a chronic habit of being disorganized, that is a form of self-deception. And you know what that deception is? That deception is that you don't have any control. Disorganization is a sign of a false belief that you don't have any control. Now, let me be clear here that sometimes you are disorganized, right? Your desk may get messy, or, you've had a hectic week and you have clothes and stuff just strewn all over your bedroom. That is a moment. But when you have a habit of being disorganized, not keeping up with your bank account, not keeping up with your finances, you have chaos happening at work or chaos happening on your job. You just have different areas of your life that's just chaotic. That is self-deception, because you convince yourself that you're powerless. And you guys know what my belief is. My belief is that we are never without God. Therefore, you're never powerless. You are never powerless. So if you have some disorganization in your life, I want you to take back your power and remember that you do have power. You can control things by making the right decision, by acknowledging what's happening, and by tapping into the power that's already within you. So that is sign number 3, disorganization. Sign number 4 is overindulgence. Overindulgence. We can overeat or overspend, or indulge in sex with multiple people, or we oversleep. We overdo it in so many different areas. And that overindulgence is a sign that you have a false belief that I can have whatever I desire, even to my detriment. That is a false belief. That is a belief that is going to hurt you and eventually can lead to your demise. Yes, Mayor, we are never powerless. That the belief that you can have whatever you want, you can spoil yourself even to your own detriment, is a false belief. The truth of the situation is that you deserve the best that God has to offer you, and that best is for your betterment. You see, when we feel as if we have to spoil ourselves to the point of eating too much food, or, spending too much money, or exercising too much, it's a sign that you believe there's lack in your life, but it's also a sign that you don't deserve the best. That God does not have his best for you, that you have to hoard and eat all this stuff. You have to hoard and have all this sex with all these many different people in order to feel as if you're spoiled, that you're getting the best, when in reality, you're not giving yourself the best. You're actually hurting yourself. You're not helping yourself. You're slowly going down this wormhole that could lead to depression, that could lead to sadness, that could lead you to losing the very things you value the most. So when you find yourself overindulgent, take a step back and ask yourself, am I doing this to comfort a pain that I have? Am I doing this? Am I doing this to a point where I am causing myself harm? If so, what can I do so that I am actually bettering myself? I'm giving myself a better experience and better health and a better state of mind, or just a better life in general. Because that's the point of it, right? The scripture a lot of us like to quote is that Christ came to give us life and give us life more abundantly. He wants us to have a good life. And that abundance is the abundance of good things, the abundance of things that's going to help us, not hurt us. And you don't want to put yourself in that position to where you are giving yourself an abundance of things that's going to hurt you. I do not believe that is what God intended. So that's sign number 4, that you're overindulgent in things that would eventually lead to your demise. And then sign number 5 is over-explaining. Over-explaining, you're justifying a bad behavior. And I see this in romantic relationships way too often. I shared a post earlier this morning about hiding things from your friends. When you're in a relationship where you're not telling your friends certain things in your relationship because you're afraid of what they're going to say. You're afraid of their opinion. And that is a sign that you're deceiving yourself about the reality of what your relationship is really like. So when you find yourself saying, oh, he's just protective. He's not really that controlling. He likes to protect me because he's taller than me. He's bigger than me. He's stronger than me. And he really sees me as someone he values. So yeah, I always have to tell him and ask his permission for different places I have to go. But he's just being protective. You see how I just over-explained a bad behavior? As a woman, we should never have to ask another man, not a grown woman, should have to ask another grown man permission to go out and be with our friends, permission to go out and be with our families, permission to do the things that bring us joy. There should not be a father-daughter relationship in a romantic relationship. That is unhealthy, and you are deceiving yourself. You're deceiving yourself to make yourself think that it is okay. If you have to over-explain a situation, over-explain a person's behavior, not only are you deceiving yourself, you're attempting to deceive other people. And so the cure for that is simply to just say it. Don't explain it. Yes, I have to ask for permission to do the things I want to do. Yes, he hits me. Yes, he or she cheats on me. Just say the information and don't try to explain away a bad behavior because you don't want someone to place judgment on you. Okay, so those are the 5 signs of self-deception. Number 1, you stick your head in the sand to avoid a painful or uncomfortable situation. Number 2, you expect the worst out of every situation or out of people. Number 3, you're disorganized. Number 4, you overindulge. And number 5, you over-explain. But here's the thing I want you to take away from all of this, is that the root of self-deception, the root of self-sabotage is fear. Notice how each of these 5 signs is a way for you to avoid failure. It's a way for you to avoid physical or emotional pain. It's a way for you to avoid rejection. Notice that. Fear is the culprit behind all of this. Even when I refer to my previous marriage, I believe fear was at the root cause of his alternate reality for himself, because he wanted to be accepted. He did not want to be rejected. He did not believe the truth of the life the way it was good enough. He was afraid that if he told people the honest to God truth, he would be rejected. And for a lot of people, rejection is like death. You're so afraid of experiencing another heartache, or experiencing another disappointment, or experiencing just another emotional pain. You're so afraid of what could possibly happen. And I'm here to tell you, you have to move past that fear. You have to move past that fear. You have to strategically, number one, be able to identify what fear is driving your just driving your behavior, which fear is driving your beliefs and your thought process, and then take the the logical steps in order to overcome those fears. And this is what I'm going to teach next Tuesday in my masterclass, Leave Fear Behind. Because one thing I know for sure is that all of us deal with fear on some level, right? No matter how successful you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, how smart you are, we all have fear. I still have fear. But one thing about me and a lot of people that I work with is that we don't let fear drive our decisions. We recognize the fear, we call it by its name, we know what kind of fear it is, and then we do the steps that we know to do in order to overcome that fear and push forward. There's this, we always talk about being fearless, right? And being fearless is not about not having any fear. Being fearless is about having less fear, less power of fear, less influence of fear in your life. It's always less because that fear is going to be present. And that fear is how you know that you're growing. That fear is how you know that you're experiencing different things and you're being called to a higher level. Fear is there for a reason, but fear is not there for it to control you. Fear is not there for you to make your decisions based on that fear. Fear is there for you to choose your highest and best self. Fear is there for you to show up in your strength and in your power. But if we give into that fear, that's when we start deceiving ourselves. That's when we start self-sabotaging ourselves, sabotaging our relationship, sabotaging our jobs and our careers, sabotaging things in our family, sabotaging our own goals and don't even realize it. So if this is something that you want to work towards, overcoming your fear, overcoming these methods of self-deception, I'm gonna put the link in the comments below, bit.ly/leave fear behind, to sign up for this class. Like I said, this class is going to be next Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'm going to teach it live. And if you can't join me for that class, it's okay. You go ahead and register for it, but then you'll just have to watch the replay. All right, you guys, so I hope that this video was a blessing to you. If it was, please leave a comment below and let me know. And if you have any questions about anything I've said here tonight, leave your questions below. And again, if you are interested in signing up for this class next Tuesday, I'm going to leave the link in the comments. But I want you to join me and let's do the work together to overcome these fears. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And I will see you again here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. All right, have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.